what they want to do on the global stage in 2026 when the United States is the chair of the G20.
You remember the feeling, don't you? Back in 2016, Ethereum was still the weird kid in the room. Everyone was either confused or laughing. Smart contracts? What does that even mean? They said. Bitcoin was already the king, and ETH just looked like another experiment for tech nerds with too much caffeine. But somewhere in that chaos, a few people saw it. They saw the infrastructure being laid down, the invisible plumbing that would later run a whole new internet economy. They saw the network before the world did. And those few, those early believers are sitting on generational wealth today. Now here's the thing. That same quiet hum you could feel around Ethereum back then. It's humming again. Only this time, it's not coming from Vitalik's project. It's coming from something quieter, more structured, almost too clean. It's called Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR for short, and while everyone else is still arguing about meme coins, this one's quietly being built into the bloodstream of the next digital economy. You've got to understand this. HBAR isn't trying to be Ethereum. It's what Ethereum was trying to become before the weight of its own growth started slowing it down. Ethereum dreamed of efficiency, of enterprise use, of a future where governments and banks could trust decentralized systems. But reality hit hard. Gas fees exploded, transactions clogged, scalability fell apart under its own popularity. And here comes HBAR, moving quietly with transactions measured in seconds and costs measured in fractions of a cent. It's like someone took all the lessons from Ethereum's growing pains and said, okay, let's do this properly this time. But here's the funny thing. The crypto crowd barely talks about it. They love chaos, hype, and volatility. HBAR doesn't play that game. It's too corporate for the Deegan crowd, too efficient to make noise. You won't find influencers pumping it for a quick flip because there's nothing flashy to hype. It's slow, steady, boring, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Because that's how real infrastructure sneaks up on you. When Ethereum was first coming up, people ignored it because it didn't have headlines. Then one day you blinked and everyone was building on it. DeFi, NFTs, DAOs, boom. Bars walking that same road, just cleaner, smarter, and with more control. You've got Google, IBM, Boeing, Standard Bank, Dell, LG, Nomura, Shinhan, UCL, ServiceNow, Swirls Labs, real-world titans sitting at the same governance table. They're not investors, they're running the network. Think about that for a second. These are not Telegram traders. They're the backbone of global commerce. And they're not experimenting, they're integrating. That's the thing nobody's saying out loud. Ethereum was the people's playground. Hedera is the corporate operating system. It's not the Wild West. It's the boardroom version of Web3. And before you say that sounds boring, remember what really runs the world. Not hype, not memes, infrastructure. Every time you send money, every supply chain move, every legal signature, every identity verification, it's systems like this that make it work behind the scenes. BAR's not building for the present crypto market. It's building for the post-crypto economy, the one where blockchain stops being a buzzword and becomes invisible like the internet itself. And if you missed Ethereum because it looked too techy back then, you're probably feeling that same confusion now. You're watching HBR sit at a few cents, wondering why it's not mooning, thinking maybe it's just another slow altcoin. But here's the truth. It's not slow, it's strategic. Because the real wealth doesn't come from hype spikes. It comes from foundations being laid before the crowd even realizes what's being built on top. HBAR is the kind of project that doesn't need your attention. It earns it. Every major institution in its council is building something on it quietly. Tokenized carbon credits, digital IDs, payment rails, supply chain tracking, all the boring trillion-dollar markets no one on X talks about. That's the irony. While the internet screams about dog coins, the real future is being coded into a system that barely makes noise. And it's not even blockchain in the strict sense, it's a hash graph. That means no miners, no proof-of-work nonsense, no crazy gas fees. Transactions finalize instantly with near-zero energy use. It's basically blockchain evolved. The tech community knows it, the enterprise world knows it, and the only people still sleeping are retail investors. If history repeats, and it always does, then HBAR right now is what Ethereum was when it was sitting under $10 and nobody cared. The same eye rolls, the same skepticism, the same maybe later energy. But later never comes for most people. By the time they notice, it's already too late. So when you hear that voice saying, "I should have bought Ethereum back then," you better listen to it this time. Because maybe, just maybe, this is the echo of 2016 all over again. Only this time, it's not another blockchain hype cycle. It's the one being quietly built for the global system that'll use it. And when those pipes finally connect, the banks, the governments, the payment systems, you're not going to see fireworks. You'll just wake up one day and realize the world started running on Hedera while everyone else was still chasing the next meme. You ever notice how the biggest revolutions never announce themselves? They don't come with fireworks or breaking news banners. They slip in through the cracks, quietly replacing the old systems until one day you realize everything's changed and nobody even remembers when it happened. That's exactly what's happening with Hedera right now. It's not screaming for attention. It's being built into the world piece by names you already trust. Look at the Hedera Governing Council. It's not a random collection of startups or influencers hyping tokens on social media. It's a roundtable of the most powerful corporations and institutions across the planet. You've got IBM, Google, Standard Bank, LG, Boeing, UCL, Dell, Shinhan Bank, Nomura, and a whole list of others quietly shaping the backbone of this network. They're not there for fun. These companies are allergic to risk. They don't join experiments. They join what they know will define the next phase of digital infrastructure. And they're not just sitting there for branding. Each one runs a node. Each one helps govern the network. Think about what that means when a company like Boeing runs part of the Hedera ledger. It's not a marketing stunt. It's a statement that says, "We trust this thing to handle data and value at a scale the world can't even see yet." That's the real difference between HBAR and the rest of the crypto space. Everyone else is chasing speculation. Hedera's chasing integration. While half the industry is arguing about ETFs, Hedera's council members are running live applications that handle supply chain verification, carbon tracking, stablecoin transactions, and digital ID frameworks. You're watching it happen, but it's all happening in plain sight, just not in the flashy crypto Twitter kind of way. Take carbon credits, for example. Everyone's talking about sustainability, but the whole carbon market is a nightmare. Slow, unverified, full of scams. Hedera built a system to track and tokenize those credits so you can trace them all the way back to the source. Transparent, auditable, immutable. That's not a white paper promise. It's real and it's running now. Or look at payments. Everyone wants faster settlements, especially cross-border. XRP and Stellar got in early, sure. But Hedera's sliding into the same conversation with a more enterprise-focused twist. Banks like Shinhan and Standard Bank are testing the rails, and if you know anything about global finance, that's no small thing. When banks move, they move slowly, but they move permanently. Once they find tech that works, it stays. And here's the part most people overlook. HBAR isn't designed to be the star of the show. It's designed to disappear into the system. That's the trick. Ethereum wanted to be the platform everyone talked about. Hedera wants to be the platform everyone uses without realizing it. That's how you know it's built for the long haul. Think about the internet itself. You don't say, "I'm using TCP/IP" when you browse a site, right? You just open Chrome or Safari and go. That's where Hedera's heading, being the invisible layer that powers the next generation of digital ownership and value transfer. It's all in the architecture. The Hashgraph model doesn't rely on miners, doesn't waste power, and finalizes transactions in seconds. It's the kind of thing governments can actually sign off on without flinching. There's no wild volatility in the way the network processes data, no fork wars, no congestion drama. It's clean, controlled, predictable, the kind of foundation enterprises drool over. That's also why the crypto purists don't like it. It's too orderly, too structured, too centralized for their taste. But here's the irony. The world doesn't care about purity, cares about efficiency. You can talk decentralization ideals all day, but if your network crashes under load, no government or global bank is touching it. HBAR gets that. It's not here to be perfect, it's here to be usable. And usability wins. Every time. Think about where we're headed. Digital IDs, CBDCs, enterprise tokenization, proof of origin for products, healthcare data ledgers, even metaverse logistics. Every single one of those needs a system that's fast, secure, scalable, and built for compliance. Guess what? That's Hedera's entire DNA. And yet the price? Still buried in the dirt. Nobody's paying attention. Everyone's busy chasing hype cycles that come and go. The same thing happened with Ethereum when it was under $10. People mocked it, ignored it, said it was too technical. And when it broke out, it didn't just pump. It redefined the entire market. That's where HBAR is now. It's not loud because it doesn't need to be. The real moves are happening in boardrooms, not Discord channels. The deals are being signed by executives, not YouTubers. And by the time it filters down to the public, the runway will already be built. So when you see all this quiet development, the council expanding, tokenization projects going live, interoperability discussions with CBDC pilots, you should be asking yourself one question. Why are all these institutions building here and not somewhere else? Maybe they know something the market doesn't. Maybe they see what we saw in Ethereum before it exploded. And maybe, just maybe, this time the train hasn't left yet. People keep asking the wrong question when it comes to HBAR. They ask, when will the price go up? Instead of asking, what's being built underneath while no one's looking? Because the truth is, by the time the price starts moving, the groundwork will already be done. The opportunity isn't in the spike. It's in the silence before it. HBR right now feels like that eerie calm before the storm. Not a bad storm, but that kind of powerful shift that flips everything upside down. You can sense it if you've been around this market long enough. The noise doesn't matter. What matters is who's integrating quietly, what kind of partnerships are forming in the background, and which networks the big players are quietly stress testing while pretending to ignore crypto altogether. Let's be honest, if you were watching Ethereum in 2016, it didn't look like the future. It looked like a messy experiment. Barely any UI, barely any DeFi, no institutional support. Just a bunch of developers with a crazy idea about smart contracts. It didn't even make sense to most people. And yet, that's where the next decade of innovation came from. That's where the biggest fortunes were made. HBAR is sitting in that same pocket of history right now. It's not trying to be the next meme coin. It's not even trying to compete in the same race as speculative tokens. It's quietly working its way into the pipes of the next global digital economy. You've got governments talking about CBDCs and national tokenization. You've got supply chain networks needing verified data trails. You've got digital identity systems that have to be tamper-proof but efficient. And behind closed doors, Hedera keeps popping up in the conversation. You won't always see the headlines because this isn't retail hype news, it's enterprise onboarding. When a bank or a government runs a pilot on a distributed ledger, they don't post about it on X. They publish a technical white paper 6 months later. They don't move fast. They move correctly. But when they do commit, they commit hard. The World Economic Forum listed Hedera as a key player in the digital economy transition. Global organizations are already testing asset tokenization frameworks on Hedera's rails. Even big auditing firms are exploring using the Hashgraph for record authentication. And it's not some random experiment. It's structured, methodical testing for something that's going to be permanent. That's what people keep missing. Everyone's so conditioned to chase hype that they forget utility doesn't make noise. Utility grows roots. Takes time. It doesn't care about the current market mood. Think about it, BAR's entire consensus model was designed for the exact problems governments and enterprises complain about when they look at blockchain. Too slow, too unpredictable, too energy intensive. Hedera flipped that narrative by building something that doesn't just claim to be efficient. It proves it with live metrics and real throughput. That's why it gets seats at tables other projects don't even know exist. You want to know why so many global organizations are sitting on Hedera's council? It's not because they love decentralization. It's because they love control with accountability. It's because Hedera's governance model is built like a boardroom, not a chat room. Each member has equal weight. No single entity can dominate, and yet the system can make decisions efficiently without chaos. That's the kind of model you can show a regulator without getting laughed out of the room. And here's where the story gets interesting. The market crash that everyone's afraid of? That's not what kills networks like HBAR. It's what reveals them. Every time the speculative layer burns away, the infrastructure layer shines. When Bitcoin crashed in 2018, Ethereum's ecosystem quietly matured. When everything crashed again in 2022, utility networks like HBAR, XDC, and XLM kept building. Crashes are like stress tests. They strip out the fluff, the hype, the influencers, and what's left is what actually works. That's why people who understand cycles don't panic during the red months. They accumulate quietly, waiting for the reset. Because once liquidity starts rotating back in, once utility becomes the narrative again, it's those networks that we're building through the noise that explode. And HBAR is built for that exact pivot. The world is moving toward a tokenized economy. From real estate and stocks to carbon credits and loyalty points, everything is getting wrapped into digital tokens that need reliable rails. You can't build that on systems that crash or fork or lag. You need a digital backbone that never sleeps. That's HBAR. So when you hear someone mock it for being too corporate, remember this: the next evolution of crypto isn't about memes or rebellion. It's about infrastructure. It's about quietly replacing outdated systems with faster, leaner, smarter networks that the public will never even notice. And Hedera has already slipped into that position. It's not asking for permission. It's not begging for attention. It's just being built into everything. Now, Hedera is sitting in that same quiet space, not screaming for attention, not hyping up its price, just building. The signals are there if you know where to look. Enterprise adoption, energy efficiency, unmatched speed, and a governance model that fits perfectly with how the real world already operates. That's not hype, that's alignment. You can almost feel that same tension in the air that Ethereum had before DeFi exploded. A sense that something foundational is forming under the surface. And while most people chase the next meme or ETF rumor, a handful of investors are quietly positioning themselves, not because they want a quick pump, but because they see how inevitable this shift is. HBAR isn't promising to make you rich overnight. It's offering a seat at the table before the world realizes what that table even is. It's the digital plumbing of the next system, the one where assets move frictionlessly, records can't be forged, and value settles in seconds without needing middlemen to approve it. The irony? By the time mainstream investors finally notice, they'll say the same thing they said about Ethereum. If only I'd gotten in earlier. You don't need to time perfection. You just need to recognize potential before it's obvious. Every era has one project that embodies the future before the world is ready for it. Ethereum did that for programmable finance. Bitcoin did it for digital money. Hedera might just be doing it for digital trust itself. So as you watch the charts, the headlines, and the panic, take a step back. Ask yourself, when the dust settles, which networks will the real world actually rely on? The answer won't be the loudest coin on X. It'll be the one quietly running in the background of your government systems, your supply chains, your digital IDs. That's where HBAR lives. If you missed Ethereum in 2016, this is your second chance to understand what's coming before everyone else does. Don't wait for the headlines to tell you it's real. By then, it'll be too late. Now's the time to learn, to position, and to prepare. Because once the next wave hits, HBAR won't just be another altcoin. It'll be the backbone of the new digital economy.